for a special recognition and resolution on our deceased member, Don Cogdell.
Thank you, Mike. We know that Don passed away at the age of 91 in May. We're so grateful that Nita Cogdell could be with us today with Don Cogdell Jr. and Don's wife, Barbara. And we know that young Don is a friend to so many members of this club. Of course, we want to recall his smile, his laughter, his stories. And I always think of Don, who was so helpful to me in what I did in this club, sort of a behind-the-scene person. I think of that whistle which he opened up those meetings long ago. W. Don Cogdell Sr., whereas the Rotary Club of Savannah pauses to reflect on the life of Don Cogdell, a founding member of the Rotary West Club, a loyal member of this club for over 50 years, and a past president whose humor and good spirits infused our meetings with a special joy. Whereas he was born in Inverness, Alabama, to a family that had been involved in railroading for several generations, and grew up knowing how to telegraph almost before he learned to write. Whereas he served his country during World War II as a radio operator from a mobile truck unit in the European theater. Whereas he was a lifelong railroad man who worked with the Central Georgia Railroad, Savannah and Atlanta, and Norfolk Southern and Central Georgia Railroad, retired as superintendent of terminals, and was honored by being named the Transportation Man of the Year. Whereas Don set a standard of civic service as past chairman of the Red Cross, a member of the founding board of Savannah Food Bank, as a member of the boards of Coastal Heritage Society and United Way, and as treasurer and teacher of Grace Methodist Church. Whereas his love for railroading led him to secure for the Georgia State Railroad Museum several major pieces of equipment, including rail cars and a locomotive. Whereas Don possessed the ability to tell a story, even embellish one, that kept our members smiling and enjoyed nothing better than to open a Rotary Club meeting with the blowing of a train whistle that brought us to attention. Whereas he was the image of the Southern gentleman, even-handed, fair, and gracious to all, happily married for nearly 71 years to Nita Cogdell, and proud of their two children, W. Don Cogdell Jr. and Shirley. Whereas the Rotary Club of Savannah expresses its high regard and warm personal feelings for Don Cogdell and conveys its sincere expressions of sympathy and condolence to his family and friends upon the passing of a man who enriched all of our lives. Therefore, be it resolved that this resolution be adopted and spread upon the minutes of the Rotary Club of Savannah, and that a copy be presented to his family, adopted this 29th day of July 2013. Michael Trainer, Club President.
Please rise. I do want to say one thing about Don. Early 1990, I came to Savannah in 1988, and my first community service was with the American Red Cross. And Don was on board, Philip Solomons, Annette Brock, some great Savannahans. And I appreciated getting to know Don, and he always had just a tremendous positive attitude, and just is a great guy to be around, and we're sorely going to miss him. So thank you for being here today and allowing us to share him with us. Thank you very much.
May I just say one thing?
Yes, Nita.
He's going to show him how he was dead when you tell him that she can say something. But you did mention the University of Alabama. And being from Auburn, I hate to. But I believe that our flag is flying right now at the University of Alabama.
All right. Congratulations. That was a great comment with football season just around the corner.
And I won't have to fight.
Well, I just wanted to take a moment. We have our mayor with us today. I'm very pleased to have you with us, Mayor. Kathy Hill will introduce her in just a moment. But I think it's important. I'm going to read off of a orientation sheet that is a great orientation that's given periodically by our new members, for our new members by Chuck Powell, Rick Belford, Eddie Culver, and Philip Solomons. And it's about community service. And it says in their orientation, they say the avenue of community service includes all service projects to our local community involving volunteer service time, project planning, and completion and funding of such projects. Citing examples of our club's community service projects over the years lends itself to a chronology of our club, the history of it. Our club's first 1914 community service project, and these things are good to be reminded of, was to help build the road to Tybee through the sale of bonds, which I think is pretty neat. The road was completed in 1923, and in the club's early years, service projects included supporting Bethesda Home for Boys, World War I war bond support, and medal collection drives, shoes and clothing for European war refugees, support of our local boys and girls scouting, continued support of road and bridge building projects and service to low-income youth. In Chuck's presentation, he goes on to say, beginning in the late 1940s, the clubs raised funds to provide lighting in all of Savannah's downtown squares, ending with the fountain in Forsyth Park. To commemorate Savannah's 1996 Sailing Olympics, we organized area Rotary clubs to renovate Daffin Park's northeast lake area and added lighted fountains. And to celebrate Rotary International's 100th anniversary, we again organized area club to erect a large street clock in City Market, and I'm sure all of you have seen that clock. And our club has had many notable members, including General George C. Marshall, the Marshall Plan, and Dr. Charles Hurdy, just to name a few. And the reason why I bring this up is because obviously we're in a phase right now where we're trying to raise money for our next community service project. And hold us back there, hold it and raise your hand. His theme is go big or go home. But I'm very proud to say that so far we've had an excellent fundraising on sponsorships. And on your tables, hopefully you'll see this list, but I want to read out the sponsors so far. Georgia Power, CETA, Stagefront, Savannah Morning News, Savannah Chamber of Commerce and Visit Savannah, the Chemical Printing, Boone Falligan, Savannah Tire, Thomas and Hutton, Kreitz, the Savannah Bank, and the THA Group. And I support and Hugh Thomas as well. I want to thank all of you for your support. In just over 2 weeks, we've been able to raise $67,000. Our goal is to raise $175,000 from club members and companies. So your support of this project is needed and wanted. We are building a playground for children of all abilities. That means kids with disabilities and kids that don't have disabilities, and it'll be located in Forsyth Park. So Mayor, we're going to do our part to help make Savannah a better place to live. And I want to thank you for giving us that opportunity to do that playground in Forsyth Park. So now I want to ask Kathy Hill to come forward to introduce our speaker.
President Mike, as I was asked to provide this introduction, for a minute I had to take a step back. It's quite daunting for somebody of our mayor's accomplishments to be asked to introduce them. But it didn't take but just a little bit of thought, and I realized this would be one of the easiest introductions that I've ever had to do. Fellow Rotarians, our objective as Rotarians is to encourage and foster the ideal of service. Mike just spoke to that. Service as a basis of worthy enterprise. We accomplish this in 4 ways. We're community leaders. We make connections, and we develop our acquaintances as an opportunity for serving our communities. We maintain high ethical standards in business and our professions. We apply the ideal of service in each of our personal, business, and community lives. And we advance international understanding, goodwill, and peace through a fellowship of business and professional persons around the world who are united in the ideal of service. I'm pleased, I'm honored, it's easy to introduce to you our mayor, Mayor Edna Branch Jackson, who exemplifies these principles and who shares our dedication to the ideal of service above self. Edna Branch Jackson was elected mayor of Savannah in December of 2011 after serving as a member of council from 2000 to 2011. She presently serves as third vice president of the executive board of directors of the Georgia Municipal Association. Mayor Jackson has served numerous organizations at the national level, including 2 terms on the board of directors for the National League of Cities, and she presently serves on the advisory board of the organization that advocates for cities and towns all over the United States. If you know anything about Mayor Jackson, you already know that she's an alumni of our university here in Savannah. She's an alumni of Savannah State, where she completed her Bachelor of Science in Sociology in 1968, and she earned the Master's of Education and Political Science in 1972. I'm sorry, I wasn't supposed to say the year, was I? A Master's of Education and Political Science from Savannah State and Armstrong State Colleges. And she has had additional study in counseling at Georgia Southern University. Mayor Jackson retired in 2001 after many, many years of service to our public institutions. During her tenure, she served her alma mater in the areas of counseling, admissions, and recruiting, financial aid, and she was the director of the Alumni Affairs. If you've been watching Mayor Jackson over recent years, you've seen her building bridges. And if you know anything about her history, you know that it includes a very, very important bridge that she began and continued to build upon through the Civil Rights Movement. Mayor Jackson participated in the March from Selma to Montgomery in 1965. And she continues to build bridges, whether it is across the street or across the world. As a world traveler, an ambassador for our community, for our city, she's traveled across the United States, Ghana, Nigeria, Israel, Turkey, and other countries. Now, they gave me about 10 pages of awards and recognition. I thought that just in case you've missed some of the more recent ones, I would refer to those from 2013. Mayor Jackson was named one of Georgia Trend's most influential Georgians for this year. She was recognized by Savannah Technical College in their Tribute to Community Stars and the TLC Tourism Herb and Franklin Visionary Award. I know Mayor Jackson is proud of each of these accomplishments and all of the recognition that she has received. But what you will hear her refer to is when she points back to her #1 accomplishment, and that's her son, Kevin. I present to you a community leader, a woman of high ethical standards, one who has demonstrated service to her in personal, professional, and community life, and one who is advancing international understanding. Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Edna Jackson.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Kathy, but you know, that was too long. I think I always tell when people are, doing introductions, I always say, please make it short. Please make it short. We can give them a copy if they want to have it. I don't do it, for all of the accolades and all of that. I just do whatever I do for the good of people. And that's how I was brought up off of Bolton Street in a house with a door taller by my grandmother, that you give and you give unconditionally, not for what you're going to get. So, but thank you again for that wonderful introduction. And to my friend here, we have our little bouts. And anytime I call Mike, I say, Mike, let's have breakfast. He knew we were going to be talking about something. But I just appreciate the opportunity to be able to call him and let him know how I feel about some things, and of course, he's going to tell me how he feels. And we still end up maintaining a very positive relationship. Again, I must recognize my council members, Mary Ellen Sprague, who's going to tell me when I'm wrong, and I did something just recently, and Mary Ellen, I will straighten it out. Because she is my friend. And Carol Bell, who's also going to do the same thing, and all my council members will do that because I am not perfect. I am just plain old Edna Branch Jackson. So with all of that, and then everyone in this room tells everybody else that there is one person in this room, I don't know why he's here today, but we met in 1971 when they moved to Savannah, and that's Bob and Shirley James. And everybody thinks that he can tell me what to do, but he can't even do that. And I'll tell Shirley on him if he does something wrong. So with all of that, just let me say good afternoon, members of Rotary. And I listened to your history and all the wonderful things that you have done and that you will be doing here in our community. So it's always a pleasure for me just to come and to give you some words and to let you know what is happening in our city. I've always looked forward to talking to you because you are the leaders of the business community. You are on the front line of this economy. You're the first to know where people are spending, what they're buying, and whether they're traveling. You're the ones who take the risk and create jobs. I always look forward to meeting with our business leaders because we've always needed your help. Now, even more so. One of the government's major roles, okay, now I know I'm loud. One of the government's major roles is to create the right environment to help businesses succeed. We develop high-quality infrastructure, reliable utilities, safe streets, and a fair regulatory framework to encourage new growth. Then we get out of the way and let you work the magic. But I'm not on the front lines of this economy like you are. When it comes to business, you are the experts. This city council has been listening to business leaders such as yourself for the past year to help us make changes and help businesses grow in Savannah. 2 business roundtables have been given us plenty of guidance. One was led by Carol Bell, the other one by Van Johnson. Now, my ace, and when we were dealing with loss, was Mary Ellen, because she's the numbers person. Members have told us how we can simplify steps in our permitting process, how we target incentives to encourage investments. We're holding a series of business training and network events to connect the entrepreneurs with resources. Last month, our Women Mean Business event attracted almost 150 business women in our community. Almost 300 people have signed up for the Small Business Conference this Thursday at the Civic Center. Next week, our city manager will unveil her new plans for the Savannah Entrepreneurial Center. We need to be more of a resource to help Savannahans turn their big ideas into viable business enterprises. Startups need incubator space. Caterers need access to commercial kitchens. We have a growing high-tech community in Savannah that is perfect to build upon. My goal is to position Savannah not just as the most beautiful city in the nation, but as the most business-friendly community in the Southeast and the United States, and the #1 location in the nation for business startups. How does Start-up City USA sound? There is no reason why we can't be it. We are a startup city for new businesses. You see, Savannah's greatest successes have resulted when government and private sectors have come together to do great things. The city developed public infrastructure and public spaces which paved the way for private investors and job creation. The redevelopment of Ella Square downtown only became the place that it is today because the city sat down at the table with private partners, including the morning news. Both sides took risks, made commitments, and it worked. It worked. The city's $30 million investment generated return $120 million, and we are still counting. If you haven't driven down Pennsylvania Avenue lately, please go. Please go. A few years ago, the city partnered with nonprofit agencies like CHSA to purchase a rundown, crime-ridden, 50-acre apartment complex called Strathmore Estate. Y'all know what I'm talking about? We purchased the property, built the water, sewer, drainage infrastructure. That public commitment has levied more than $100 million in private investment from developers. Strathmore Estate is now Savannah Gardens. It's an earthly, friendly place, mixed income community with great architects that is transforming the entire east side. Crime there has been cut in half, and there is a two-way year waiting list to get into the apartments. There is a similar story off West Bay Street with the project called Sustainable Fairwood. It is known nationally through the National League of Cities. This is affordable housing for our future, a beautiful place that blends people of all income levels into the same neighborhood. The city built water, sewer lines, and drainage, and business partners did the rest. Savannah Gardens, Sustainable Fairwood, and Ella Square were paid for with voter-approved SPLOS funds. SPLOS funds. In November, we will again go to voters and ask them and you to approve another round of SPLOS funds. For 2 decades, the city of Savannah has been a good steward of SPLOS dollars. We have fulfilled our pledge and rebuilt much of this community's infrastructure with the penny sales tax. SPLOS has paid for more than $150 million worth of drainage improvements. Y'all remember when we flooded? Even with a little bit of rain? Which have dramatically improved life for thousands of Savannahans all over this community who no longer have to worry that their homes will flood when it rains. We still have a few more streets though. We have repaved roads, built miles of new sidewalks, added critical facilities such as new fire stations and police facilities, and created great public spaces such as the fort that you have helped us with at Forsyth Park, the major renovation of Daffin Park, and the Children's Museum. We believe that all residents of our community should be able to enjoy the natural beauty that surrounds us. So when a private property owner threatened to shut down access to Coffee Bluff Marina, we purchased the property. to preserve public access. SPLOS is paying for a major renovation of that, is turning the marina into a first-class boating and recreational facility that can be used by all people, whether you live downtown, on the east side, west side, or the south side. And soon we will build a new home for the Cultural Arts Center that will welcome residents and visitors to Savannah at one of our major gateways at Oglethorpe, and I like to say West Broad Street, but it is M.L. King Boulevard. Almost 40% of all SPLOS collected is paid by those who live outside of Chatham County, but 100% of the revenue stays here. Doesn't go up to Atlanta, stays here. This has been the deal of the century for Chatham County. We've been able to address major problems with previous thoughts previously thoughts were that we thought was unfixable, and all without relying on property tax increases. Without SPLOS, our infrastructure would be decayed behind where it is now. We would not probably have, we would have, as I saw in Maryland a couple of weeks ago, where the pipes were caving in because they were so wrong. I was in a convention of 46,000 registered members of my sorority's convention. And we could not even hold one event because they had to shut the water off in the community. And without a doubt, that is why we have done this in Savannah. And without a doubt, SPLOS has accelerated the growth here in Savannah to make it a world-class community that is competing globally. Anyone who claims otherwise hasn't been paying attention. As I speak, things are looking up in Savannah. Hotel-motel taxes in 2012 set a new record for the third straight year, thanks to the marketing and efforts of Visit Savannah. Have to talk about Joe. The property tax digest just released showed the first year over year index since 2008. Most economic indicators are trending in the right direction. Unlike the majority of cities in our cities our size in the United States, Savannah city government made it through the economic recession without major service reductions and significant tax increases. We went up 0.5 and we brought it back down in 6 months. Savannah is the only major government that hasn't proposed a millage rate increase this year. In fact, next week, City Council will vote to roll back the millage rate, largely because of SPLOS. The city of Savannah has been able to reduce our millage rate 29% since 1968. That benefits business, homeowners, renters, everyone. We do have significant budget challenges ahead. Earlier this year, we entered into a new agreement with the county that reduced our share of sales tax collection by $3.5 million a year. But instead of asking you and our citizens to make up the difference through higher property taxes, we're focusing on our priorities and reducing spending elsewhere within the budget. That's how the modern Savannah operates. In many ways, we are a stronger community than we were before the recession. Now is not the time to be timid or turn our backs on projects. It is time for bold steps. In November, we'll be asking voters to approve a new round of SPLOS with a fully funded arena as its centerpiece. Our current arena has served well for 40 years, but it is past its usefulness. The city, like Savannah, deserves a modern arena I was down in Augusta, Georgia, just over the weekend, and I looked at what they have over by the hotel. We will spur development, revitalize long vacant land, and allow for greater offerings of the arts, which has become a major industry in Savannah, no matter what happens in November. We in this room will always love and be proud of our Savannah. Nothing will change that. But Savannah is ready for our big reveal. We must act wisely and plan carefully, but we must also think big about what we want our city to be and how we can get there. It is about us working together. Last year, we hit a few speed bumps in the road. That was a distraction, but we have moved on. Now, under the leadership of Stephanie Cutter and the employees of our city, we have a real team working together to do great things for this community, with the city organization working hand in hand with city council, residents, business people like you. We are making real progress. We are now hitting our stride, and this benefits everyone, no matter where you live in our great city. You may not always agree with the decisions made by City Hall. Everything is controversial to someone. The important thing is that your city has begun listening to our community again. We need your input. We need you involved. Council recent decision on double-decker buses in the cruise ship terminals are great examples of how public involvement can shape public policy. City Council listens to the community. We, after all, are citizens too. We are part of the journey. Savannah has never been a city of no. We are a city of yes. You are part of this journey. Continue to join us, because the greatness of the hostess city of the South depends on you, the residents, and also all of us working together for the greater good. Again, thank you for inviting me, and I always look forward to this.
Question for the mayor. Any questions?
Oh, all right. Well, let me add to the importance of what CETA does, what the World Trade Center does. As we move forward and we become more of a global society, it is very important that we are all there and sitting at the same table. And we are doing that. I must say to you who may not know, as I travel this world, it is because of CETA, World Trade Center, and our staff getting together and making me look good and others traveling. And I can tell you right now, when we travel, people now want to use us as a template, because if other mayors are there, they don't have what I have to offer to others. So we are becoming the template on a global issue. I thank you for what you're doing to make us look good. Thank you.